Thank you for watching this video tutorial on keypoint.net for nerve conduction studies. The logic of modifying markers and measurements in keypoint will be detailed in 3 consecutive steps: adding markers to traces, adding measurements to result tables, and getting these measurements in the patient report. All permanent modifications are accessible in the Options menu located on the home page by selecting the same application than the one displayed in the test menu. Changes for current studies only may be operated directly on the exam window. This is a sensory nerve conduction study of the ulnar nerve between the 4th digit and the wrist. 2 markers are placed on the waveform, one on the positive peak, one on the negative peak. On the right side of the screen, the result table displays the amplitude between those 2 markers. This is the peak-to-peak amplitude between the first and the second deflection of the waveform. Sometimes people want to add additional amplitudes, such as the tilt one, that will basically draw a baseline between the 2 positive peaks and measure the amplitude between this baseline and the negative peak. Right now, we're missing a marker on this waveform to enable that measurement. Let's add this marker to the traces. Go to Home, Options, select your application, and go inside the signal definition for your test template, in our case, sensory. On the right side of the screen, you may see all the parameters that you may select. Tick the tilt amplitude. Now the software will calculate the minimal amount of markers needed on the waveform to be able to calculate the tilt amplitude. Save your changes by returning to Home or by pressing the floppy disk. Now all new studies will include this additional marker. Now this waveform has 3 markers: the first positive peak, the negative peak, and the second positive peak. On the right side, the result table still displays the old amplitude between the first and the second marker. Now that the marker is placed, let's edit the result table to include the new measurement. Go Options, enter your application of choice, and select the test template design for the sensory nerves. On top of the anatomy set, you may find the different result tables. It includes tables for motor nerve conduction studies, sensory nerve conduction studies, and so on. Expand the sensory site results table template to add new parameters. On the left side, select from the drop-down list the tilt amplitude and press the Add button to add it to the result table. The new parameter is added to the table. You may customize the header of the result table by simply typing your text. Save your changes by pressing back. These changes will be applied for all new studies. In this new study, the waveform now has 3 markers. The result table on the right side includes the tilt amplitude at the same time than the peak-to-peak amplitude. In the report, however, the measurements include the peak-to-peak amplitude, not the tilt one. Let's modify the report template to include this new measurement into the report. Report templates are available in Options, System, Report. You may find the list of templates that have been configured on your system. Select one to look into its details. The report template is a list of blocks of data, from patient data to result tables to graphs. The sensory data table may be found in NC Data Sensory. Click the Edit button to open its detail. The table layout is as follows. The first line, here grayed out, is called the root. All lines below are called children. They include the header for the measurements, the units, and the actual parameter that will be pulled out the study into the report. To add a new measurement there, right-click on the root and add a child. The child is automatically added on the far right of the result table. Right-click and add a child to have two separated lines. Type the header for your measurement, its unit, and select from the last item the parameter from the software. In our case, we will look at the tilt amplitude. You may move this parameter left or right by clicking Right, Move Cell. Now the tilt amplitude is displayed next to the previous amplitude measurement. Click OK to save your changes. All your reports will now include this new measurement. In this new report, the tilt amplitude is now displayed next to the standard amplitude.